is my privilege to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker for this session, Mr. Raj Raghavan. The theme is Cultural Transformation for Strategic Impact. Mr. Raghavan is a highly respected people leader with over 3 decades of experience working with global organizations. He is also the independent director and NRC chairperson at Healthcare Global Enterprise Limited. So he is currently working as a Chief People and Culture Officer at CoStar Inc. He is also an independent director at NRC chairperson at Healthcare Global Enterprise Limited. Prior to this, he was working with Indigo Airlines, where he was leading the HR function. He was leading the HR function during the period of remarkable growth. He has also held very senior and leadership positions at companies like Amazon and Hindustan Unilever, HSBC, Ford Auto Company, like that. And he has managed regions like, apart from India, Asia Pacific and Middle East. He holds a master's degree from Madras School of Social Work. He is also a global fellow in talent management from Wharton School. Known for his ability to connect strategy with culture and performance, his insights are truly valued across industries. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Raj Raghavan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ibrahim Malika. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Raj Raghavan, Chief People and Culture of.
Let's have a conversation on how culture can impact organization success. My name is Raj. I work for, about 10 years ago, I started working with Reliance and Group HR head supporting 2 Reliance businesses, Reliance Intelligence and the Reliance Consumer Products. Intelligence is based in Bombay and the Consumer Products Group is based in Bangalore. I live in Chennai, so I kind of travel most of the time. So for those of you that are staying back for the session, there is one more session coming back up, so you may want to just stay for some more time. The last 2 sessions, I should say, were probably eye-catching as well as very revealing. The one Dr. Nagesh shared on well-being, and prior to that with Dr. Gaitode. I think one of the things that we always see is the emotional wealth is not really seen as a financial wealth, and where we get there. And if that is more than good enough, we can now turn our sights into culture. I've now worked for over 30 years. I've worked in several different organizations, and I think in the last few years or so, there has been a lot more perspectives that have changed than it was even about 10 odd years ago. Now, what started as a change was COVID, right? Each of us have had our own impact on COVID, and what is then led to, especially on the technology industry that I've been on all the time. Now, between 20 and 24, I think lots of things happened. I was at Indigo at that point of time in 2018 to 2023, and we were just growing like someone was saying, you're buying airplanes like you're buying grapes on the roadside. That's exactly what was happening. To then coming to COVID, and then we started seeing 2 months of non-activity. And each day when planes did not fly, the airline lost 40 crores. So that amounted to almost like 7-8 quarters of continued issues and travails that we all had. But I think beyond that, it did not stop. If you see the year 2022, 2023, the number of jobs that were lost just in the USA were humongous. And to an extent that, I went to this startup, CodeStack, about 3 years ago. And, before I started in January 23, we had, funding that was just coming like, water out of the pipe. And then it all started drying down. So lots of things happened. And as we speak today, tariffs that the United States is imposing on several of us including India and other major countries, is going to have a big impact. Now, there has been talk about recession, the US economy especially, but I think with tariffs, there is a lot more money that's being thrown into the US economy by the US government. Whether that is going to impact their overall financial situation, time will tell. But at this time, there's a lot of bravado that's happening in the United States. Now, of course, the USA's influence on geopolitical situation is going to be humongous. I don't think there's going to be a time when we'll all be able to sleep and say that, everything is fine and everything is hunky-dory because, Uncle Sam is going to do something or the other that's going to impact us. Now, let me talk about culture, and when I talk about culture, for some reason or the other, there is a lot of emphasis on HR. Now, whether there is a productivity issue, actually, or profitability issues in a technology company, other than the products that the CEOs always tend to think, hey, HR leader, why can't you help me increase company's performance? Why can't you do enhance employee productivity skills? There was this beautiful question Dr. Nagesh asked the gentleman there on AI, whether AI will help in emotional health, and I think AI is being almost seen as a panacea for all else, right? I mean, anything to do with anything has got AI today. Now, you go back to how companies perform. End of the day, the customers need a product that works, right? Especially, in organizations that we are all in, commercial organizations. And the employee is looking for a workplace experience. Workplace experience is a very important component of why I come to work. In fact, my PhD thesis at ISB is exactly on workplace experience. How does my workplace experience impact the customer experience I provide? And I'll come and talk about that on another day. But as we speak today, the biggest challenge that we all have is how do we align organizational culture, and how do we have leadership manage employees' career aspirations? Because anyone that you hire today, the first question they ask is, what am I going to do 10 years from now? My answer to them is, let's figure out what we will do 10 months from now, and then we'll get into 10 years, 10 years from there on. In all of this, I think the most important part is leadership, be it culture, be it profitability, be it product, be it customer. End of the day, leadership is probably the key. And now, when I talk about leadership, I'm not just talking about top leadership here, I'm talking about all of us as leaders. Right. So, the question then I ask myself is, what is the role of a leader? Now, what do you all think? Quick response. What do you think is the role of a leader? Anyone? To bring clarity is what I hear. Anyone else? Motivate. Yeah, bring clarity, motivate, etc. So I worked in GE for a long time, and I don't know how many of you have not heard of Jack Welch, the legendary leader of GE. So I want him to speak to you and tell you what he thinks is the role of. Can you get the audio on? Can you get the audio on for the video, please?
What is the role of a leader? Well, the first one clearly is to be the chief meeting officer. To let everyone in the place know where you're going, why you're going there, and most importantly, what's in it for them to get there with you. People like to talk about where they're going, why they're going there, but they always leave out the third thing. When you come into a new job and you say, we want to change. Change is great, we gotta do it. You forget, people hate change. You gotta explain what's in it for them to change with you. So be the chief meeting officer and be mean to every one of those people that are out there doing that job, so that they understand why you're going, where you're going. Yeah, and they know what's in it for them to get a job, more pay, more flexibility, maybe nothing. You can't say nothing. But you gotta understand that's another part of the job. Your job is to not give all these directives and not be the person getting rid of the clutter. Getting rid of the clutter is a huge deal. You can't all of a sudden have bureaucracy. Let's go here, let's go there. They have 20 rules to stop the employees from getting there. You've got to break down all those little silos that occur, all those little bureaucrats who are checking the boxes in some layers, slowing you down. You've got to be the person in the cook. We always use this analogy of curling. You see it every 4 years in the Olympics with the broom out in front of the. You've got to be brooming away the stuff that's in the way. You've got to be the chief broomer out there to get rid of it so people can act and do things. You've got to have, if you want to be, in my experience, and I've looked at thousands of managers in my lifetime, you've got to have a generosity gene. It's got to be in your body. You've got to love to see people promoted. You can't have a jealous thing where you can't, oh, Joe got promoted and I should have got that job, or Barry got this, and Pete should have got it, or whatever. You got to enjoy people's success. You got to love people's success. You got to get in their skin and really be excited yourself for them. You got to love giving raises. You got to be turned on giving bonuses. It's got to make you feel great. And not just like, hey, you're a bonus and I didn't get one that big. None of those feelings. You got to just get over them. And if I look at all the leaders I've seen, the best ones I've seen have this generosity gene. Ask yourself, do you have it? Or do you have a little small gene in there that's killing you and give raises, killing you and see other successes and jealous in your body? You can't have it. Brush it out, clean it up. And then you go to work every day, finally to really have fun. Are your people having fun? Find all kinds of ways to win. There are small victories all the time, and celebrate every one of them. We found a way to bring a cake in on everything. Find a way to make little victories big victories. And if you get a lot of little victories, you'll get a big victory when you have them all together. But think of the job that way. Work is fun. And your job is to make it fun if you're a leader. Don't be some grinding boss's ass. If you're a boss, love yourself. Think of the excitement and fun you can have in your job. Make it fun. Be the chief fun officer. So in my view, you've got a huge responsibility, most of you. God gave you a job where you are responsible for people's lives. It's a big deal. You have families you're responsible for.
What do you think of the video? Alright, yeah, that was one. Certainly, Jack Welch had a great way of communicating the way he would communicate. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to interact with him. I was lucky to be in his classes at least 3 or 4 times during his time. I think a few things that I really liked about this video, and I keep using this video sometimes in my other sessions as well. I think much like the wellness part that we all saw, which helps the human body, I think leadership is the one that creates the cultural ambit into how organizations succeed. And I think to that extent, Welch can't be wrong. So there is this whole cultural transformation we talked about. So I'm sure some of you have been a part of cultural transformations. I wanted to ask a question on what you think cultural transformation may be. Any quick responses? If you've been in a cultural transformation role, I saw my friend sitting right next to me. He works for the UST group. What do you think cultural transformation is? One or two words? Changing behavior? Changing mindset? Anyone else? All right, in my mind, it is about intentional processes. How do you create intentional processes that reshape values, define how people in an organization think and act? So, in the next minutes that I have, in minutes, I want to give you some examples of what I have been able to do in the organizations that I've worked in. Now, one of the things when someone asks me, what is this organization impact by our culture? Because culture is often seen as this, stuff that you can never put your hand on. It is always one person's view on another, etc., etc. But I think it has tremendous impact on the bottom line of a company. First is, it helps you build a high performance culture. And that means it can work for any organization. I can be a food service agent and I could be a high performer as much as if I'm an AI scientist working on. Now, there was a time in GE, I don't know if they still use this or not, they had this program called Session C. Now, what they did was, while they were planning for business outcomes, they always knew that unless and until people outcomes were baked in, business outcomes can never happen. And so they had this process called Session C, where there was a business plan, and then they talked about all the people. They did that for almost like 3 months at a stretch, and then every quarter going on. Basically, they talk about how people and culture will impact the business outcomes of the company. So I think that's a great way that you would have. And my own experience, I worked in. I started working many years ago. My first job was a factory personnel manager at Unilever. Then I went on to work at Amazon, GE, etc., etc. And each of those had terrific, impact on not just me as a person, but also on the teams. My very first role was right out of college. I was in Madras School of Social Work. I went to go work for Brookon Lipton those days, and after about 6 months of training, they put me into this factory called the tea and coffee factory in ClaySys, which is back beyond those days of Hyderabad. I walked into day one, and I realized I was about 23 years old then, and I was replacing a gentleman who was 58 years old who had just retired. Now, the cocky person that you all are, I thought, what a big job that I got. The person that I replaced was the age of my father. I did not quite realize nobody wanted the job. And so they gave me the job. And as I just walked into my office, there was a gentleman that was brought to my office. He was actually bleeding from head to toe. He was all of blood, and there were some 20 people around him. And they kept shouting, "Call the police, call the police." So the union had, the factory had 3 unions, and each of them, did not like each other. Management. So there was this tension, anxiety all the time, the one Dr. Nagesh was saying. So I said, you don't need the police, you actually need a doctor. And they did not appreciate my humor at that point of time. But the long and short of it is, later on, my 3 years spent at ClaySys was all about how we brought people together and how the factory became probably the best productivity that they ever had among the older factories of Brookon Lipton. And they were almost like 80 years old at that point of time. And lots of other examples from GE and Amazon. Amazon was another great cultural example. The first time we had Amazon.in was in 2013. And there is this concept called the peak in Amazon. Peak is when you have lots of sales happening. In our case, it can be Deepavali, it can be Onam, it can be Pongal, depending on where it is. And at the very first peak, we realized that we did not have enough people to deliver goods. And so we said we will bring everybody who's sitting in offices like me, who generally were thought of, sitting and doing strategy. We said, we'll bring all these people and let them go deliver goods to people that actually bought from us. So my team was saying, Raj, you'll never be able to go house to house. So we will allow you to just go to this corporate office and deliver, stuff that the office people had actually ordered. So I went to the Wipro office in Bangalore. I had a big car those days, so I took all of those, and I've been to Wipro a lot of times. But this time when I went, the security guard at the gate asked me, "Who are you?" I said, "I come from Amazon." He said, "Delivery boy?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You can't go this way, go the other way." So I walked the way back, and then started calling people who had ordered. This was way back in 2014. And I called and I said, "Abraham, I brought your package. Can I deliver it to you?" "Don't call me now, I'm in a meeting." I said, "Sir, it's your package." He cuts the phone. And then I call another person, I call Prajit, and he says exactly that. But the third person, enters, let's say, answers, and he says, "Yeah, I come and pick it up. Where you sitting?" I said, "I'm at the car." So the moment, ATS came, some 20 people around him also came, and then I could easily deliver all that stuff. And that taught me two things, right? Delivering stuff is not easy. We all think it's a 10-minute job, it cannot be done that way. And the only way you learn is when you're doing all of these things. Now, coincidentally, it so happened that the CHRO of Wipro is also a good friend of mine. So at the end of delivering all of this, I called him and I said, "Yes, Saurav, I'm here in your office. How are you doing?" He said, "Yeah, great, why did you come in here?" And I went and met him, and he asked me, "So what did you think?" I said, "Well, I think 20% of your workforce works, and 80% are shopping on Amazon." So that said, there were things that we did in Amazon. Amazon had this very interesting plan. Whenever they hired a new employee, they had something called the launch plan. So they use words which are not very typical of what you hear in corporate America or corporate India. So the launch plan is like when you launch a product, what do? You have all kinds of support coming to all kinds of people. So the Amazon launch plan basically had a 90-day plan. During those 90 days, you were in what is called the witness protection program, which basically means you can find anything wrong and you will not be held responsible for it. Look at the culture they create. The culture they create is, come and tell me what's not working. Of course, you should also tell me what's working, but tell me what's not working so we can fix it. Even if it means it was in your own function, I'm not going to come and tell you that, you have to do this and you should have done this otherwise. I have lots of other examples, but I want to give you one or two examples. Again, going back to my working days. So at Indigo, and I know, a lot of you are going to smirk and say 2 months ago the whole company shut down for 2 days, but I still think it's one of the best run operational efficiency, focused companies that you can ever see. So as the CHRO of Indigo, I also had responsibility for training, and the training academy was called iFly, IFLY, iFly. And the training leader outside her office had a board that basically had all the courses listed. So there was something like 70 courses being run every day. Not because, we were philanthropic about training people, but, you had to do that by way of statutory, regulatory reasons. So, at any point of time, there were at least 50 courses being run, and at any point of time, at least 20 people attended each of these courses. So, which means you had 1,000 people in the training academy. Now, the lunch hall of iFly could only take 200 people. Now, you have 1,000 people there, and you had to be on time, and so we then what we did was we split the lunch time. So the first lunch started at 11:30 in the afternoon, and the last lunch started at 2 o'clock. Now, if you were supposed to be at a 12 o'clock batch for lunch, and if your course overran by 30 minutes, bad luck, you'll have to go without lunch. So the efficiencies were just in. The other interesting thing was the training leader had this board which had all the courses listed with yellow, green, and amber, green, amber, and red. So any course that started on time was a green. Any course that started 5 minutes late was an amber, and any course that didn't start in 5 minutes was a red. Now, what does this tell us is being on time was a wonderful thing. And that's what Indigo kept saying all the time. And we said, if we can't do that during the training period, the culture doesn't get passed on. So, some great simple examples of how your culture can get can really help getting business outcomes. Now there are lots of pitfalls that you can avoid. I had some more examples as well, and one of the examples was again Amazon's customer connections program. And the Amazon customer connection program was like this. So each of us work in Amazon even for 10 years. That's fine, but every year you had to undergo a 2-day program which was called customer connections, and your job was to be sitting on the phone listening to customers and solving them. So you had to be a customer service executive as well. So one of the things that they did. Now there are a bunch of pitfalls, and of course, not using business metrics and all of that is there. Now. Again, I'm going back to Amazon, and they had this very high bar to hire. I don't know how many of you have attended an Amazon interview for being selected for a job. They said, and I don't know how many of you are HR leaders here, you're probably running businesses of all sorts, but I still do believe that your most important job as a leader, be a business leader, HR leader, finance leader, marketing, whatever that is to hire the very best and develop them. So I think that is one thing I learned from Amazon. And finally, I do think that culture building, people strategy, business outcomes, all of them are almost the same on the same line at different points, and you need to be able to integrate all of them coming in together. And I want to give an eye on HR. I want to close this with another quick video from Jack Welch, and I hope the audio will work.
HR is, without question, one of the number one and number two most important functions in the company. I haven't been as number one, many others think is the key success of the company. HR is the driving force behind what makes a winning team. We make the argument, the team that builds the best players wins.
I'm going to finish 2 minutes ahead of my schedule in True Indigo way. But those of you who are in HR here, we all should feel very proud of what we are contributing to organizations, and we also should feel a sense of responsibility towards what we intentionally and unintentionally do. In my mind, the biggest disservice we can ever do to an organization is to say, let them hire whoever they want. Let them pay whatever they want to get paid. Let them develop the way they want to do. I'm going to do my little bit of, running my payroll, my benefits and all of that. And I think that is the biggest disservice we can ever do to ourselves. I think there are some great examples of how HR leaders have transformed organizations. Google, for example, they had some really deep research that went on in terms of people and their productivity, etc. There's another example from Motorola, and I'm told that when the peak of Motorola happened, there were a lot of people that were leaving Motorola, going to a competition, and the leadership there did not think it was competition. They thought they were all going to this computer company. And what is this telephone geek going to do in a computer company? Little they realized that these people were going to Apple, and Apple was building iPhones, and Motorola was losing people, with deep insights into telephony and technology. I think these kind of market intelligence can only be brought in by HR, and I want to close this by thanking KMA for another opportunity, and hopefully it was a good half an hour spent for all of you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President Anthony, for handing over that memento to our keynote speaker, Mr. Raj Raghavan.
after such a heady and a fulfilled convention, obviously one would like to have a dessert to round off a wonderful ClaySys KMAC convention. And who better to do it than one of the most sweetest management professionals in the industry, Mr. Naresh Kumar Sethi. It gives me immense pleasure, and I must admit, a touch of personal pride, because I've known Naresh for almost 35 years. When he came into the industry in his jeans as a sprawling youngster, and from that, he's gone places. He's been not only a great global business leader, but a friend whose journey I followed with admiration over the years. Mr. Naresh Sethi is one of those rare leaders who combines sharp strategic intellect with deep humanity. In a world increasingly obsessed with speed, noise, and buzzwords, Naresh has always stood out with this clarity of thought, which you're going to see on stage today, his calm conviction, and an unwavering commitment to doing the right things. In fact, for this presentation himself, he's been in preparation for the last 2 weeks, and I think he's in touch with the KMAC team, and then almost every other day, trying to perfect his presentation. Our association goes back a long way, almost 35 years, and what has remained constant through the years is his value system. Be it in Japan during the tsunami, or in Lagos, in Nigeria, facing guns, he has always stood by his team and has been an able leader right through. Whether leading businesses across continents or mentoring CEOs and boards, he brings to every role a deep respect for people, customers, and culture. Titles have changed, geographies have changed, industries have evolved, but his principles have never changed. Professionally, his journey is nothing short of an extraordinary. From his early years at ITC to leadership roles spanning over 70 countries, to serving on the executive management of one of the world's most respected FTSE companies, Naresh Sethi has been at the forefront of global business transformation long before it became fashionable to talk about it. As chairman of TSC Industries today, and as a trusted advisor to some of the world's leading organizations, he continues to shape conversations around strategy, digital transformation, and customer-centric growth. What truly sets him apart, however, is his ability to bridge worlds, the world of technology and the world of traditional enterprise, the world of shareholder expectations and the reality of rapidly evolving customers. He understands that while technology can enable change, it is leadership, culture, and courage that ultimately make transformation successful. An IIT and an IIM alumnus, a global CEO, a board leader, and a mentor to many, yet always approachable, grounded, and generous with his time and insights, that to me is a mark of a truly great leader. You've all known about the series that's come into season 4, The Family Man. And Naresh, I think he should have replaced Manoj Bajpayee as the true hero of Family Man. He's got a wonderful family, married to Asha, and a lovely daughter Ananya, who's also married and like Aljo's son-in-law. She's a British American son-in-law. And he dotes on them. At a time when businesses are navigating uncertainty, disruption, and exponential change, I can think of no one better to share perspective, wisdom, and practical insight with us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and prepare to be educated, inspired, and possibly have a good chuckle or two as he delves into his keynote address titled The Kakadmi Paradox, Leadership in an Exponential World. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single word. So I here welcome Naresh on board. Please give him a big hand.
I'd like to also thank KMA, Algiers, where you for inviting me. Thank you so much. And of course, my partner in crime, Lieutenant Jacob Jojo. I can't see you. You're still helping me, I know. Thank you so much. All right. I've just one simple objective today for this session, and that is to plant a seed of doubt, a little bit of uncertainty. Because I think if planted right, this uneasy discomfort always propels us forward. It moves us forward as individuals or as an organization. Okay, so let's start with a simple exercise. What do you see? Just think about it for a second. When I run these small group sessions, the standard answers I get are pretty typical. It starts with travel, then they quickly start to frown and say business travel, or they'll start to smile and think of family holidays and the fun that they had. Next they start to go into comparing airlines, which one is better, which one is worse, where the food is good, where the food is bad. Oh, these days the legroom is not good. All the rush and the madness at an airport, so on and so forth. Not one person has ever said, wow, how can this metal tube weigh 18 tons take off from the ground and fly? Isn't it amazing how incredible magic can be normalized? That's what we humans do, you know. We adapt, we make progress, and we move on. And we've been doing it for a very, very long time. Throughout our history, humanity has moved forward on the back of the crazy ones in our midst. The misfits who keep asking why, the rebels who keep challenging why not, the troublemakers, ones who see things differently, challenge the status quo. They change things. They push us forward. We owe so much to these change makers who have come up with ideas, inventions, discoveries, and they have changed our world. And with these changes, human beings, organizations, and society have also learned to transform. And transformation is not new. It's been going on ever since we learned to harness fire through the Industrial Revolution, then came steam, electricity, computers came, the internet, mobiles, and now the digital era. There has been one feature, however, of all the revolutionary changes that have happened till now. We have had time to adapt. This process of transformation sometimes took a century, sometimes it took a couple of decades. But I'm here to give you one simple message. This time, it is different. All that we have seen in human history will pale in comparison to what we are going to see in the decade ahead. And to make that idea come to life, let's play a small game, okay? So, I just want to pick two people. There is Deepak, of course, in Algiers, and let's say you split, Algiers will represent this half of the group, and Deepak this side of the group, and the good news is there's money involved. Do you have a color? Pick one. Okay. So this side of the room is going to get money based on the selection that Deepak had, that's blue, and Alj's team is red. Okay? What does the red team get? Congratulations! 1 lakh rupees. Everybody down the middle on this side, 1 lakh rupees. That's brilliant. I think I have something still left for you, Deepak ji, and you get even bigger amount is 100 rupees. So this side of the room gets 100 rupees. No applause for that? I'll remember you. When I ran out of money, I'll just recall me first and what happened. But let's just put another condition. You can't have this money for 20 years. And I'll give you a good rate, 10% growth every year. And because 100 is like literally nothing, I'll just double your money every year. Okay? So you've been so nice to me already. So let me just double it for you. So let's see what happens. The first 5 years, well, 100 has become 3,200, Deepak, not bad. And as is swimming, 1 lakh has become 1.6 lakhs. Let's move on and let's see what happens in 10 years. Not bad. You're still at 1 lakh. The money I gave Aljaz already at day 0. And Aljaz is doing well, 2,59,000. Let's move on another 5 years. Around year 12, I can see Deepak ji. Can we have another applause this side, please? Out of nowhere, 100 rupees have become 32 lakhs. Now, we've run out of screen size, but let's see what happens in another 10 years, year 25. 335 crores is what the doubling of a simple 100 rupee note gave you. And steady as she goes, sorry, you're at 10.8 lakhs. You know, what's even more impressive is the 26th year, 335 crores become 670 crores. Hopefully you have learned by now that you shouldn't trust a guy who gives free money during presentations. Or why you should not take a mathematician to a card game. But I think you begin to understand the word that has been used today, what exponential is. When change is exponential, there's a long period when literally there's a trend bubbling up and you can't even notice it. And the minute you start to see it, the deceptive growth is already at an inflection point on its way to being disruptive. It happens so quickly that there is no time to react. Now we humans, on the other hand, we have evolved linearly. When we see change, we process it, we forecast it, all in straight lines. That's how we have evolved. Our brains are prediction machines built for a world that no longer exists. We are running ancient software for modern problems. And so far, it's not been bad, it's worked for us. We found that it's wise to wait and watch. Let's see how the change is. Is it impactful or not? Will it last? And then so on and so forth, and then react. All I'm saying to you now is that we have to fight this instinct now. I've spent almost a decade researching trends and their potential impact. And what I see is exponential changes with potential impact far greater than any change we have ever seen in our human history. If the lights were on, but at least in your hearts, I can almost see people shaking their heads and say, here he goes. all this hype stuff and what have you. So let's try this. Go back to 2011. 15 years ago, if I told you whether you see a family or a group of friends sitting in a restaurant or people sitting in waiting areas, that all of them will not be making eye contact, but sitting there glued to their mobile phones, would you have believed it in 2011? That you will be banking primarily via your mobiles, you'll pay friends, shops, the fruit wala on the streets, and even beggars with QR codes. Would you have believed it in 2011? That making calls and messages will be free? That people will be able to work from home? 2011, work from home? Run meetings, sitting in their pajamas on their dining tables? That you could literally buy anything from a paper cup to a big screen TV, a click of a button, and expect it to be delivered the next day. And these days, sometimes it is, if I've ordered something, I'm going to receive it in 10 minutes. In 2011, would you have believed it? That there will be, that you could order food from any restaurant in your city. That you'll be tracking your sleep, your heart rate, your steps without making any effort. That entertainment will be ubiquitous. And there will be a generation of content creators from all segments of society being seen by people all over the world. That food porn and cat videos will become a thing. I think you get the idea. We are not good at noticing or accepting change that has gone by. Almost unknowingly, we adapt and move on. And magic becomes ordinary. So please have this in mind when we look ahead, because we are currently seeing not one, not two, but 4 or 5 tectonic changes riding the exponential curve, well past the initial phase when you can't see them. What's even more interesting is all these are aiding and abetting each other to move on faster and faster across the exponential curve. Over the next decade, the world will be a completely different place. The speed and impact will be unprecedented. The change will bring a new paradigm or multiple paradigms, all at play at the same time. Exponential is the new math driving the world now. And we all better learn it. These changes will impact our homes, our businesses, our politics, our daily lives in ways we have not seen before. And let me bring it home with some practical glimpses of this future, starting of course with exponential intelligence. We've been hearing this word all day. AI has exploded as the hottest topic of our times. ChatGPT, has kind of become a shorthand for it. And you know that ChatGPT celebrated its 1000th day a few months ago. And we almost do not know what life was before ChatGPT. We are now seeing, as you can see here, a race for winner takes all between companies, and do not underestimate, between countries as we speak. In the US alone, $1 trillion has been spent in the last year and a half on AI and AI infrastructure. 25% of the GDP growth of the US was on the back of AI investments last year. The world is putting its money where its mouth is. And that is not to help some graduate do his or her homework. Today, most AI models are already smarter than a human being. In terms of languages, they speak hundreds of languages. No one human being can match up to them. They seek subject matter expertise already far better than any human. By that I mean whether it's medicine, chemistry, physics, biology. So all of us today have a world-class scientist, if we want, sitting in the palm of our hands. And even as we speak, these models have not stayed where they are. They are constantly evolving, constantly growing, literally on a week-by-week basis. Employment is a major topic of conversation, and I heard this mentioned during the day, especially today. It's quite clear to me that human capital is on its way to becoming obsolete. By that I mean knowledge jobs are at huge risk. And tech changes in our history have always increased jobs. Many of you might have seen the McKinsey study that said during the internet era, for every one job that was lost, 1.6 new jobs were created. That has been the mantra with every revolution that we have, right through the last 150, 200 years. That model is gone. For the first time, we are going to see a net reduction in jobs, especially in knowledge work. And there is painful displacement ahead. And the business case is undeniable. AI offers a 24/7 hyper-productive workforce that doesn't complain, doesn't have coffee breaks, doesn't need HR, doesn't want pay raises, and what have you. It's cheaper, better, faster. Industries built on human capital alone, for example BPOs, or any knowledge worker who primarily works on a computer needs to get worried. And a big revolution that has happened in the last year and a half is voice. The simplicity that voice brings. You no longer need to learn computing, how to use a computer. You now can have massive intelligence on your mobiles, and all you need to do is speak to it in your language. This is a huge breakthrough, but this is going to be a big leveler. Let me give you some examples. Imagine a personal, infinitely patient AI tutor for every child, customizing learning to their strengths and weaknesses in their own language. The beauty is that the same opportunity is available to a child in a remote, illiterate rural area as to a child in a bustling metro. The barrier to learning is on the cusp of being erased. I was reading the other day, El Salvador has signed up with Grok AI. And from what I know, this will be the first time that a nationwide personalized tool will be available in the public education system. So the experiments have started. This is not sometime in the future. Likewise, and this excites me, especially in India, we can provide every rural doctor with an AI assistant for world-class diagnostics and treatment, even in the remotest of areas. In my mind, all things being equal, in the developed world, it should soon be considered malpractice for doctors not to use an AI co-pilot for diagnostics or treatment, utilizing the latest science. Because science is evolving fast. AI is also accelerating the drug discovery. Big Pharma is investing heavily in AI. Moderna vaccine would never have made it in that record time if it was not for AI. AI has taken educated guesses out of drug discovery, and that is changing the entire pharmaceutical industry as we speak. Keep going. If you look at law, again, a great level, because now any lawyer with research can stand up to any well-funded, highly resourced law firm. AI judges, who knows? They will soon be able to process, at least to start with basic cases like traffic violations, contract conflicts, and reduce the backlogs in courts. The world of finance has been seeing a massive revolution over the last 5-8 years with fintech. To give you numbers, the top 20 retail fintechs today serve about 4.1 billion consumers. The top 20 retail banks are at 2.7 billion. AI is really accelerating this shift. And it's also challenging the very notion of currency. Whether you start to think of bitcoins or stable coins, so on and so forth. So that's AI. Let's move to robotics. You've heard of autonomous cars being trialed in the US with amazing results. And China actually is doing way more trials. And these are happening on a much higher scale now. This basically means mobility for everybody. Let's look at the implications. The elderly, the blind, the disabled. Enhanced safety, since 94% of all accidents are on account of human error. Traffic efficiency, wouldn't that be nice in my Bangalore? Total urban redesign, when you don't need parking spaces. And the ultimate demise of the generation-proof dream of owning a car. And the economic shifts will be significant. Reduce costs on the one hand, but job losses on the other. Drivers are the single largest employment category in the US in the workforce. And they are roughly top 5, top 6 across the world. This is NEO. Robots are coming to a home. NEO will be available in 2026 for $20,000. A robot that cooks, cleans, doesn't judge you for your life choices. What's not to like? The challenge, and there's been a lot of progress in the last 2-3 years, has been electromechanical dexterity. And we're now seeing very good results. Human-like robots with 140 facial movements, robots with hand movements, with degrees of freedom to match the complex human hand. And in 4 to 5 years, I promise you, androids will be more and more commonplace and will become cheap. Same thing when you go to factories. Boston Dynamics and Elon Musk's Optimus robots have now announced plans to ship humanoids on a massive scale, in millions. All the learnings actually that Tesla has had in the manufacturing of cars are now being applied to create robots at scale. But this actually is a huge hardware challenge, and that has been cracked. So the next step is very easy. Next step is for these robots to learn from their environment and learn from us. As this trend is just picking up, you can imagine the debate now. Which year would the robots, the population of robots, take over the human population? An amazing revolution is happening in brain-computer interfaces. Neuralink, you must have heard of it, is one of the pioneers. The goal here is to get your brain to bypass any limitation due to injury or disrupted neural pathways. They insert a coin-sized implant with microfibers in your brain. 5 people are being tested as we speak. And you'll see a video of Nolan in a second, who can move a cursor, play games, write emails with just thought. And he's faster than his more able friends. There he is. The time is not far that machines are really, this brain interfaces are really going to help us. So what happens if you have a spinal injury? You lose control of your limbs. But now what science can do is to bypass the dead neurons and pass on the instructions from your brain straight down, and you start to get use of your limbs all over again. And just to blow your mind, now we're talking of bi-directional feedback with robots, which means you can get inside a robot's head. So whatever you're thinking, the robot is doing. And for the first time, what this is doing is leading to an abundance and a huge reduction in costs. The future is going to be deflationary. The cost of services that are always tough and they keep growing with time, like education, healthcare, entertainment, they're all going to come down. And in some cases, be close to zero. This is a paradigm collapse. Now we move to biotech and longevity. I'm most excited by the developments here, especially longevity. Maybe it's got something to do with me turning 60 this year. And the phrase longevity escape velocity is now becoming more and more commonplace. So what is this? As longevity escape velocity. So basically, given the advancements in science and medicine, for every 1 human year that we live, today we get about 3 to 4 months back. So the concept is that in 10 years' time, that's the forecast, that for every year that we live, we're going to get a year back. That is when we hit escape velocity, and then you start to get more than a year back. So we begin to live longer, reverse aging, and living to 100, 130, the best of our health. Think of the implications of this one fact alone, if this comes to pass, on our society, us, our lives, our careers, pensions, family lives. Let's keep going. And this is possible because now AI, nanotech, regenerative medicine, gene editing with CRISPR are fixing precisely the genetic errors that lead to aging. And now we have nanobots capable of controlling your body, targeting and killing disease, for example, cancer cells, and repairing cellular damage. We'll quickly move to energy now. We need a huge revolution in energy. And we had this conversation in the second session this morning. Because what's also happening exponentially, that's not that great, is all the issues that are going on with climate change. And if we don't do something, we might be living in a very different planet very soon. So there's a lot of work going on how science and technology can actually help us in this effort, for example, how to reduce emissions. But energy, clean, cheap energy is one massive idea. And there are two ideas there, solar and fusion. Solar is fantastic because even a fraction of the sun's energy is enough for us to do whatever we need to do for however long as we want. Problem, however, is the sun is not available all the time. There's something called night time. During the day, you've got clouds. So here's the idea. Why don't we shoot satellites into space, cross the Earth's atmosphere, get non-stop solar energy, and beam it back to Earth? Every science fiction movie I watched as a child looks like it's becoming a businessman. And the satellites are going up. Japan, China, followed by US, the third place, are pace setters here. We've left the research phase in this example and are entering engineering prototypes. Now, data centers suck in a lot of energy, and in 2-3 years' time, data centers are going to be sent straight to space via satellites, taking solar energy and beaming back data to Earth through lasers, of course. And this has happened. Look at how technologies overlap. The biggest innovation with SpaceX and Starship has been, in the past, to send things up into space costs you $10,000 per kilo. In a couple of years, we're going to be talking of $100 per kilo. When people are saying you're going to have data centers and push 5,000 satellites into the orbit, the business case is there. This is a classic example of exponential trends aiding and abetting each other. Then there's fusion, and fusion is very straightforward. As you know, nuclear reactors use fission, our stars use fusion, and once fusion starts generating energy, it's a self-sustaining loop. Far more efficient and far more safer than a nuclear reactor. And this has been a difficult scientific challenge. You know, it can't happen. It's a hugely complex subject. But today it's no longer 30 years away. It was always 30 to 50 years away. There's a realistic chance now that the private sector will be online before 2030. For 10 years' time, energy at mega scale, highly reduced costs, will be a reality. I've shown you intelligence, robots, health, longevity, abundance. What I'm really describing is a fundamental renegotiation of what it means to be human. What do we do when machines do all the work? When they think? What do we do? What do we become when scarcity ends? What's a life when it stretches beyond anything we have known? These are not philosophical questions. For people in this room, these are planning questions. My job, I said in the beginning, was to put an element of doubt in your minds. Well, I am really sure of these trends. You must figure it out for yourself. Skepticism is always healthy. But remember, denial can be very expensive. Many experts say that the future could almost be utopian. Many have their doubts. One thing they all agree that the next decade is going to be extremely turbulent. And as we business leaders know, where there's turbulence, there are huge risks. But at the same time, for the entrepreneurial amongst us, there are tremendous opportunities. So let me tell you a story of King Kakudni. Those who know me know that I have a weakness for Indian mythology. My team is always complaining that whenever I have any presentation, I bring in some of these tales from our epics. Today is no exception, and this story is from the Bhagavad Purana. As the story goes, there was a mighty king in the golden age called King Kakudni, all powerful, and he had a most accomplished daughter, Devaki. Like all fathers do, you have to find the right room for you, Devaki, but you are too perfect. So what I'll do is I'll create a list, as parents do, and I'm going to go to none other than Brahma. I'll go to Lord Brahma and ask him to pick one. So off they go to Brahma, and once they reach there, they find Brahma is listening to a musical performance from the Gandharvas. So they wait, the short performance ends, And Lord Brahma says, Kakudmi, what's up? What brings you here? And Kakudmi says, the time has come to marry Revati off. I've got this list of candidates. Pick one and I'll be on my way. Lord Brahma says, I'm afraid it's too late. During this short wait, while I was listening to music, here in Brahmalok, 27 Chaturyugas, so about 116 million years, have passed on your earth. Whatever you were, whatever you thought there was, has all long gone. It's disappeared, it's all forgotten. And Kakudmi was absolutely gobsmacked, he was shocked. But then Brahma, being Brahma, said, don't worry. I've got the right match for you, your daughter. Go down to earth, there is Lord Balram, brother of Lord Krishna. He is the perfect groom for Revati. They go down to earth, and then they realize that Revati was from 160 million years ago. She was a giant. So divine intervention was again needed to touch Revati to bring her back down to the human form of the times of Lord Balram and Krishna. And off they went, and as stories go, and lived happily ever after. So the question is, why am I telling you this story? I think it's a great lesson for us as individuals and business leaders, and that is, timing trumps perfection, especially in the times when the paradigm is shifting. Inactivity now won't mean staying in the same place. It means literally going backwards. A strategy perfect for today is useless if it takes Brahmalok time to implement. There's a real risk that by the time your perfect plan is breathed in, the world has already moved on. Think about it. You may find yourself in a world where ecosystems have changed completely and end up looking like a slow-moving giant forced to painful restructuring, layoffs, divestments to survive a bit too late and survive if at all. And unfortunately, for us mortals, Lord Brahma is not around. He's not around there to help us. It's time that we humbly accept models and expertise that have led to our past successes may now be irrelevant. Timing trumps perfection. And this fast-paced, changing environment, and suddenly confronted with disruptive change, I've seen many organizations, they just freeze into doing nothing. What in my world we call strategic paralysis. Surviving and thriving through the fundamental changes ahead requires a fundamental shift in leadership. What's transformation? Transformation is nothing without ambition. And ambition is nothing without vision. And how do you have a vision if you don't have the right sight on what the future holds for you? That is why transformation, in my experience, always starts at the top. It's only rebellions that start from the bottom. All of you run very successful businesses. The students are yet to, I know. I respect your experience and wisdom. You've been extremely good at what you do. We've heard countless success stories in the last couple of days. But I think that's what's going to make this very hard. Because success is a terrible, terrible teacher for change. But I'm also sure that if leaders like you are convinced of the why, that there are changes ahead and you need to do something, and why timing is of the essence, you know enough with your experience to make the right decisions thereafter. I invite all of you to become a child again. Relearn, reimagine, reconsider, reconnect, rethink. You have to challenge and unlearn all your assumptions. Sometimes the more senior the leader, the more locked in they are, their assumptions and their worldview. I mean, I've been most guilty of that almost all of the time, where I was always too proud to challenge stuff and said, I know best. I've been there, I've done that. So I know from personal experience, it can be hard. To understand and predict how the needs and wants of the consumers are going to evolve. What kind of environment, society will we be living in? What new challenges are going to emerge? What new opportunities must your organization place bets on? Unlike the past, you can no longer wait to adapt to these changes. And given the suddenness of these changes, I urge you to product. Obviously, I made this word up. Many of my friends hate it, but I think you get the idea. Don't wait for the storm, adjust the sails now. Proactively adapt your entire organization, consumers, partners, and supply chain. You must adapt before the market forces you to, before your competitors, especially the new challengers, fill in the new spaces, leaving you in a vacuum. And finally, what's very clear to me is that the biggest barrier to transformation will not be technology. Funny that, but your people. If you do not have people trained and developed for the possibilities of this new world, technology is not going to save you. Given the pace of change, organizations will have to become the new schools, the new universities. You must constantly inspire and reskill your workforce. When the big changes happen, some companies are realizing it because they're too eager to rush into this AI buzzwordy game that's going on these days. When you rush into this too soon, it never works because your organization, your people are never ready to actually move with you, to move with the trend. And it's when all these things actually happen, and suddenly you see the disruption in the exponential curve, it might be too late to start reskilling. It's almost like learning how to swim when the ship has started to sink. So finally, what are some practical recommendations that I have for you? I've talked about this. Reinvent how you create value. Think about your business model. And one simple suggestion that I have for all of you is to set up what I call a rebel task force. Some of my clients also call it the team I pay to give me anxiety task force. Basically, this task force is what? It's a group of bright people from your organization, tasked with devising as many ways as possible to compete against your own company. New products, new ideas, new business models, ideas that a newcomer or competitor could use to kill your business. I find this one of the most refreshing, energizing exercises that a business can take. And one of the best outcomes out of this is you get numerous ideas. And all of us know here that allocating resources while managing today and investing in tomorrow is a fantastic fantastic slogan, but very difficult to do in real life. But if you are productive, you have the luxury of time, an opportunity to create a culture of experimentation by placing these small bets regularly, continuously. No big plans, no endless meetings and reviews. Just go ahead and pick a few of these ideas, make these micro moves in your business or the marketplace, learn from them, they don't work, carry it, move to the new one. Two things happen. Firstly, you're in the game. You're trying things and you're not at the same time betting your entire organization's future and resources on one sudden mega change, which is fraught with risk and rarely works. And best of all, you are building organizational muscle for the future. I'd also like you to challenge the decades-long wisdom of what an organization looks like. Neat boxes, role profiles, hierarchies, pay grades, career paths. The world we are getting to will be built around credibility and ideas, not hierarchies. The future belongs to fluid work, which is basically like a rebel task force, forming flexible output-oriented teams based on skill and capability, and not tenure or seniority. But all you want to do is create value. And once goals are achieved, the team is disbanded and people move to new challenges. Form the best team, deliver the output, and disband. This is how bank robbery movies actually work. It turns out that the future is also going to work like this. To conclude, let me tell you my last story, the rebirth of an eagle. This is the story of an eagle. An eagle has the longest lifespan of its species, up to 70 years. But to reach this age, the eagle must make some tough decisions in its 40th year. Its long, flexible talons can no longer grab prey. Its sharp beak begins to bend. Its old, heavy wings with thick feathers stick to its chest, making it difficult to fly. The eagle is left with only two options: to die or go through a painful process of change. The process of change requires the eagle to fly to a mountaintop and sit on its nest. There it knocks its beak against a rock until it plucks it out. It waits for a new wing to grow before plucking out its talons. When new talons grow back, it starts plucking its thick, heavy feathers. And after this, the eagle takes its famous flight of rebirth and lives for another 30 years. Why is change needed? To survive and live. We too must start the change process. We too must be willing to cast off our old burdens and endure the growing pains of transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, may you water the seed of doubt I've planted here today until it grows you into something new, as a person, as a leader, as a business. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Naresh Kumar Sethi, and a thought-provoking final presentation. Thank you, sir. Come along, everybody. Can we have a round of applause, please? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, sir. Thank you. 6% of you think the world will be fundamentally unrecognizable in 10 years. And for the final time, our winners for today, Ms. KSSC. If that's you, please come by and collect it, along with Sri Lakshmi, collecting an award from the kind hands of our President, K. Hari Kumar. Can we have a round of applause for Sri Lakshmi, please? And KSS.
On behalf of the entire organizing committee, it's It's my distinct honor and pleasure to propose the vote of thanks for this successful management conclave. First and foremost, a heartfelt thanks to our esteemed former Foreign Secretary, Ms. Nirupama Rao, for gracing us with her online presence and sharing such insightful wisdom of the current geopolitical landscape. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. We extend our deepest gratitude to all our distinguished speakers and panelists. I'm not telling due to lack of time, I'm not telling each and every person's name. From Mr. Pramod Verma to Mr. Sethi, taking us, Pramod Verma, making us proud being an Indian, explaining the developments in Aadhaar and all, from Mr. Kumar Sethi, giving us a thought-provoking session of exponential way of changing things. Thank you so much, each and every panelist, for your valuable time and giving us such a wonderful day. Our sincere, we are sure that all the attendees had a great day, thought-provoking. Actually, the final session, all the sessions, our longevity exceeds the velocity. It's a great thing we have to think about. I'm sure that it's just a thought-provoking day, thought-provoking ideas, all financial, physical and mental well-being, which will take us to the next level in our life. Thank you. Thank you for that, and thank you, ClaySys, for the partnership of this conclave. This is a journey to be continued. A big thanks to generous sponsors and partners whose support was crucial in making this event a reality. We deeply appreciate your commitment to fostering the management excellence. To our dedicated convention chairperson, Mr. Ajaz Ali, and entire MC members, our organizing team, volunteers, and staff, both ClaySys and Hyatt, your tireless effort, attention to detail, and seamless coordination behind the scenes deserve a special round of applause. You are the pillar of this event's success. And to our dear participants, your active engagement, thoughtful questions, and enthusiastic presence made this conclave a vibrant platform of shared learning. Thank you for making this a truly collaborative experience. Finally, our supportive management, our own Executive Director, Captain Lieutenant Jojo Jacob, and his staff, all the administrative staff, thank you for your unwavering support. We hope the insights gained today inspire all of us to lead with innovation and integrity. Thank you once again to everyone being here. We look forward to a continued collaboration and success. Thank you. And one more announcement from the management side. Our own Prajit is celebrating his birthday today. A very happy birthday to Prajit.
Happy birthday.
Please come on to the stage. Prajit. It's a small gift for him. Wishing happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Project, from everybody here and from KM.